Alpha.
So will it be worth it to upgrade to the A7SIII for videographers in the wedding industry? I'm going to save you some time and give you the simple answer straight away. Yes. Is there a but? No. So why am I so confident in saying that? You all know the specs, but just to fill everybody in. It's 4K, 10-bit, 422, up to 120 frames per second. Amazing dynamic range, brilliant autofocus, which is actually reliable. Active mode stabilization, to me works like a dream, as well as a fully integrated touchscreen and flip-out screen. No record limits or overheating issues, all fitted into a small, light, mirrorless body. Boom. My name is Nieuwenhuizen. I am the founder of White Motion Films. White is the dress and motion is film. White dress, tick, 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 tick. We are a premium wedding brand in South Africa. So for the long answer on why the A7SIII is the perfect wedding cam, I think we will first have to determine what you need in a wedding camera, and that is primarily determined by the nature of a wedding. So what makes wedding videography different from any other project? So firstly, in many aspects of a wedding, you only have one chance. Let that sink in, one. Secondly, it's mostly a once-in-a-lifetime event, and the product will be watched for a lifetime, and that adds to the pressure. It's a constant tug of war between loads of time and almost no time at all. Control over situations versus no control over situations. In a way, a wedding videographer needs to be very prepared to be unprepared. Also, your video approach is mostly in combination between creative shots, which can be set up or in the moment, and then documentation shots that can also be set up and also be in the moment. So you need a camera that gives you the flexibility and versatility that enables you to be creative, but it is also reliable on a technical level for the documentation of formalities. And this is exactly what the A7SIII offers. When you buy an A7SIII, you are not simply buying a new camera, you're actually buying into a new era. The 4K enables us to now totally make the shift into a 4K workflow and product. But also it is still possible to keep your current HD workflow and simply incorporate 4K into it. Not everyone is ready to make the shift entirely. It is a bit of a different ballgame if you work entirely in 4K, especially in the wedding industry. Just to give you an idea, where our wedding footage were around 170 to 200 gigs per wedding, in a recent wedding that we did, the footage was around 600 gig, and that is just with one S3 in the mix. So processing power, storage, etc. comes into play. And that may be a big practical reason for a lot of wedding videographers to still rather shoot and edit in full HD. For 1080p filmmakers, however, it is still worth the upgrade. You still have 10-bit color, amazing dynamic range, great low light capabilities, incredible autofocus, an active steady, and much, much more. I'm going to touch on a few of these aspects and demonstrate to you what they contribute in terms of look, feel and workflow for the wedding videographer. So when shooting a wedding, the creative shooting mostly happens during the establishing shots. The bride and the groom prep, couple shoot and party. This is where you capture what is happening in a creative way rather than a moment-for-moment documentary style, like in the ceremony, speeches and other formalities. So I'm quickly going to take you through 3 aspects of the A7SIII that will really come in handy when shooting creatively, and 3 aspects that will be awesome plus points when documenting formalities. But you will notice that most of these aspects could actually be mentioned on either side. The 3 aspects of the A7S III that will really contribute to the creative aspects within a wedding is definitely the color science and dynamic range, the active mode and touch to focus. So the color science. This is definitely something that will come into play more in post-production than on the day. You can really be creative in post-production, and the new color science and especially the 10-bit 42 and dynamic range of this camera gives you a lot of room to play with color grading, to play with the look and feel of your film, as well as to utilize the HSL selective color grading. When you push the color in your image to its limits, it is easy to lose control of your skin tones. What I found with the A7SIII, it's much easier to keep a nice natural skin tone intact despite playing around with color. The great thing about dynamic range, especially in outdoor situations where you have clouds and harsh sunshine, for instance, in a venue shot, is that in post you can make the clouds pop and still have details in more shadowy areas. IBIS has been one of my favorite tools for creative shots. I've always relied on it because it's easy for me to transition from one shot to another, and also being able to shoot handheld has opened up possibilities for me to pull off shots that I would not have attempted before. The active mode of the A7SIII takes this to a new level, as it is even better and more stable, so the possibilities are even greater and the quality of your shots gets better and better as you need less post-processing. And finally, touch to focus is a new feature on the A7SIII. It's definitely going to increase opportunities for creativity. So in the past you were limited to either a dolly in or a dolly out shot, and even with those simple movements, focus could be an issue. Now with the touch to focus, you can click on a focus point, and regardless of the angle of the camera, the focus will lock on that specific subject or part of a subject. In this next clip, you can see that the camera actually locks focus on the tips of the model's fingers, and this was difficult to pull off in the past. So now moving on to the documentary aspects of a wedding. I will touch on the following aspects: eye autofocus for video, the low light capabilities, and the length of recording times. So eye autofocus for video. So basically the autofocus on the A7S III is really amazing, and especially the IAF for video. So apart from the typical things like speeches, one of the most important parts of a wedding is when the bride walks down the aisle. And obviously you don't want to miss that. Also, every now and then you get that guy that needs to give a speech and he thinks that the designated place to do the speeches is obviously not good enough. So he paces more than a parent next to the soccer field, and that can really get hectic. So I'm very excited to use the A7SIII in situations like that. For those situations, IAF is going to be great. And to top it off, it's even spot on in low light, as you can see in the following clip. And then for those ministers or speakers who never know when to stop talking, there are no recording limits. That is going to make life really easy. So this might seem like something small, but the no recording limit with the position and size of the record button really makes a difference to the user experience of this camera. Just a reminder, we've got a promo code for you guys that you can use on your next purchase on a Sony Alpha product, like in camera stuff, not like the PlayStation. Okay, so just for that extra amplification on just how awesome this camera is, I brought in one of my team members as 2 opinions are even better than 1. Okay, so I've got Gerard here. He also shot a wedding with the S3. So you've worked with some of the footage. Like I said in the beginning, it's a new era. It's a bit more difficult, and I think hardware and stuff is going to catch up in the next year. But how did you feel working with the footage?
Well, I didn't use my main PC to work with it. So I used the first generation Ryzen 5. It's not a very big CPU, but I do have a 2070 Super graphics card. That really helps. And at times where I felt like I struggled a bit, I just pulled the footage in, rendered the work area, and it sorted everything out. So it wasn't that difficult to work.
So yeah, I agree. To invest in a good graphics card is probably your next step for the viewers. If you don't have a great graphics card, don't rather invest in a good graphics card than, let's say, more RAM or things like that. I think a graphics card is key to shoot it up to editing with the S3. Okay, just to wrap it up, I gave them the answer in the beginning. Is it worth it to upgrade to the A7S III and go?
Most definitely is.
Obviously, if you're new to the game and you've got some money and you want to invest in a wedding camera, this is the camera for you. So we worked with the A7 III for the last 2 years. It's still worth it.
Yes, definitely. There's a few things that I would say why it's worth it. The screen color, much better. The actual color, much better. Like, you get that cinema-like color in a small mirrorless body, and for me that is such a huge plus point. And if you want to use active steady for getting those longer shots, getting nice walk shots or whatever, it's really such a nice upgrade. And if you want to use your Sony A7 III as a B cam, then it's perfect to use that as a B cam or a documentary cam where you get your ceremony and speeches. So I would definitely recommend upgrading to the A7S III.
Yeah, so there you have it. We've both been shooting weddings for quite a while, been in the industry for a while. It's not always about the new specs, not always about everything like that. It's about your skill, it's about how you use that camera. But sometimes you just need that new technology to push you, and this camera will definitely push you to the next level. And it won't be something that you have to replace in the next year or next 2 or how many years. I think it's a camera that's really gonna last in your workflow. And just remember, we've got a special promo code for you. The link is in the description, on the screen somewhere. But use that promo code and you can get 10% off from your next buy from Sony. So thanks for watching, guys. Please go check us out on Instagram, on YouTube, on Vimeo, on Facebook. Give us a like, and yeah, hope to see you soon.